Dr. Tanya, he is joining. I have sent him the link again.
Okay, understood. Priyanka?
Yes.
Shall we send another text in the groups?
Which group?
Which group, and also Ecocriticism group? Have you sent the post already?
Yes, it is there already. It's the same link, and today in the morning also I have sent it.
Which group? I think you haven't sent, right?
Which group also I have sent in the morning.
আরেকবার দিয়ে দাও।
Okay.
আরেকবার দিয়ে দাও।
It's actually there. It's the latest post. So what I would do, I would just write a message here.
Just write a message that we are about to start. Both places, you just write a message that dear colleagues and friends, we are about to start.
Hello, Karishma ma'am.
প্রিয়াঙ্কা কিছু বললে?
Dr. Tania, I'm sharing the feedback link in the group here through the chat box. Kindly
Okay.
check that if you are able to access it or not.
Okay, I'm checking.
I'm posting it, just a minute.
Okay.
I have posted it.
Yes, yes, I'm checking. I'm checking. Yes, I can access it at least. I can access it. Uh, Dr. Ghosh, Dr. Mishra, I think, has already joined.
Okay, I think you can start. It's already 3 p.m.
Dr. Mishra,
Yes, I have joined. Am I audible?
yes, yes, sir, you are audible.
Good evening,
I will
good
just.
evening, good evening, and namaskar to everyone.
Good evening, sir. Dr. Ghosh, can you just turn Dr. Mishra to a co-host, please, so that he can share his screen and everything?
Yes, I have made him co-host.
Okay. Sir, nice to meet you again, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.
Sir, yes. I think we are already, it's 3, so I will just start, and I will, if sir allows us, then I will start with a brief introduction of for Dr. Mishra, and then he can start with the presentation. Dr. Sanjeet Kumar Mishra is a professor of English in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Roorkee. He completed his undergraduate, master's, as well as PhD from Benares Hindu University. His research interests encompass 20th century British literature, post-colonial literature, contemporary critical theories, and Indian writing in English. He has numerous publications in high-ranking, peer-reviewed international and national journals, such as Language in India, Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences, Asiatic, and International Journal of English and Education. In 2001, Dr. Mishra published a book titled The Poetic Art of Nissim Ezekiel. Sir, I welcome you to our present session, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I guess I've become the host now.
We have.
Am
yes,
I
sir.
co-host?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
You are co-host. You can share your screen if you want.
So thank you thank you for elevating me from host to from guest to host. Since I have become the host, let me show the stuff which I wanted to share. Here are the 3 dots, and with the help of this, actually I have to keep speaking so that my audience, they do not get stranded. They should know that yes, I'm trying to interact with them. Choose virtual pin. Yeah, I got it. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible now. It's absolutely visible.
Good. So, Dr. Tanya, please tell me how many people are there? I mean, in the audience, how many people are there?
Sir, at present, including us three, we have 21 participants.
Okay. And I guess they all must be academicians from English only, mostly. Or
Sir, yes, actually, we have both internal and external participants for the seminar.
right.
And most are from the English literature
Right.
related subjects.
Since Dr. Priyanka is from geography, I guess, so there would be some participants from geography background as well.
Sir, there are some, even I am from history, sir. There are some
great.
participants
Great.
from social sciences as well.
Great. That's great. In fact, it's a very healthy thing that there are people from different backdrops. You see, when we say English, I do not somehow I feel uncomfortable when someone brands me as a professor of English, because English is not mine. Obviously, English is someone else's language coming from far away from England. So I feel more comfortable with my colleagues from different departments, no matter they're from engineering. But here, still better that we have got our colleagues from history, geography, political science, and all these different subjects. And that's how we complete the thread. So had I called myself only a professor of English, so that would have made me somewhat different from you, which I am not. So because the things that I'm going to share, they pertain to, I mean, they encompass, they are interdisciplinary in nature. You see, eco-consciousness is not the prerogative or a domain related to one particular language, one particular subject, or one particular discipline as such. So, in fact, it's such a domain which connects everyone, not just the humans, but also the all types of organisms. So, talking about such a grand thing, we must have a grander vision. In our ken, we must have ideas, we must have theories, principles from all these different disciplines, even beyond, because we cannot confine ourselves to one particular subject or one particular theory itself. So even if I name a couple of theories or I refer to one of the theories, then also maybe I'll be doing it only at the risk of excluding so many theories, excluding so many important things, which I don't want to do. That's why I'm not going to refer to any of the theories. My talk is going to be as simple as possible. So with this, I thought like giving a very random title to this: eco-consciousness and literature. Please do not expect any of the theories, Greg Gerhardt's theories or Rachel Carson and all those people. Yes, they are great people. They have written so well. They have theorized almost everything related to environment. But then I'm not going to refer to them. And there are reasons. Because with the help of theory, you cannot actually get into the things. You cannot actually know the things the way you want to know, because they make you. Of course, they give you a direction, but they also blinker your thoughts. They blinker your mind. Theories, because you do not feel like going beyond them. And environment is certainly not that. It is yet to be explored. And this process of exploration will continue. So here is my first slide. From primitivism to modernity, I would like to refer to this idea of primitivism versus modernity, or primitivism to modernity, and how the initial, the primitives, the primitives, almost the savages, so-called savages. I never refer to the word savages, but of course, primitivism is a word which I feel okay with. So from primitivism to modernity, things have changed. Our perception towards nature, our perception towards environment has been evolving. But then, is it really kind of evolution? Is it really kind of development? We'll explore further. Humans have thought, humans have this idea. I mean, modern humans, they have this idea. They have theorized that when the primitives things were bad, and the things which are related to modernity, they are the things which are to be accepted. So is it going to be like this? Is it really this way? Theorists, most of the theorists that I have read, mostly there is an undercurrent of rejecting the past as something primitive, as something to do away with. But there are theories which have encapsulated, which do not look at the things from the binarism of primitivism versus modernity. Indian theorists were the people like this. I mean, in Indian context, when you look at the things in Indian context, we have got this circularity of things. Circularity, just as the Earth, just as the planet has this shape, round shape, just as there is a revolution, in place of linearity, we have got this revolution. So when we talk about evolution, we also talk about revolution. So I'm not going to look at the things through the perspectives of binarism. So I'm referring to organic, inseparable connect between these binaries. In fact, these are not binaries as such. We modern humans began looking at these as binaries, because we are the people where, I mean, not just we in India, almost everywhere throughout the world, primitives. In fact, this thought comes from primitivism. In fact, when we embraced modernity, or when modernity was imposed upon us, things changed. We became blinkered in our vision. But so long as, if you look at the primitive ancestors, the texts written some 2,000, 3,000 years ago, not just in India, but everywhere, almost everywhere, there was a kind of organicism which took into account earth, water, fire, space, and air as the 5 basic elements of nature, and thus the human consciousness. Earth, Kshitijal Pavak Gagan Samira, Panch Tattva Mili Racha Sharira. That's how Tulsidas writes in his Ramcharitmanas. Kshitijal Pavak, earth, water, fire, space, and air. That's how the writers in the West, they have written, dust thou art, and to dust thy shall go. We have all emerged from dust, and finally we get mingled with the same dust which produced us. That is, this organicism is really exclusive with primitivism, not modernity. According to modernity, things have changed. Things have changed. 17th century, 18th century onwards, or maybe 16th, 17th century onwards, we find a kind of modernity inflicted upon us through which we started looking at things in terms of binaries. We forgot that we are made of earth, water, fire, space, and air. All these 5 elements. And whenever there is an imbalance, that's what we call pollution. Be it in a human, be it in an individual, or be it in terms of a culture, a society, or a nation, or whatever. The whole environment, the whole concept of environment, the ideal balance of earth, water, fire. We must have all these 5. We must have all these 5. Naturally, they are there. But then there was again, very soon there was this civilizational divide. I prefer to call it civilizational divide. I mean, different civilizations, they developed their own notions, their own ideas about this organism. Indians, fortunately, they continued to remain organic, whereas the Westerners, they became less organic. Rather, to them, the idea related to organism, they had a different notion about organism. Synthetic. Let's call it synthetic versus organic. So Indians and Africans and in fact South Americans, I mean people on the margins, they still continued to remain organic, but the more industrialized ones, civilized ones, they happen to be, I mean those who embraced modernity, they became synthetic. They acquired a kind of syntheticism in place of organicism, which was a virtue handed out, which was a legacy handed out to them through nature itself. So as they were primitive, so long as we were primitives, we were organic. But as we became modern, we became less organic. We became more synthetic. So this journey from primitivism to modernity, and this journey from organicism to syntheticism, it is here that the divides lie. The West, they still continue to have their own view of the things, view of environment. And that's how when the West viewed environment, they viewed nature only as a resource. Because there was a kind of disconnect because of industrialization, and when you have machines, obviously when you have got bigger machines, bigger industries, obviously you tend to disconnect yourself from nature, and that's how you become farther from environment. The organic concept of environment is no more a guiding factor in your life. So nature becomes, here it becomes man versus nature. What man and nature, in fact, there was no divide as such. There was no divide as such. Man, and even in fact, there was no man and nature. Man precluded, the idea of man precluded that they are part of nature. But then towards the times when we acquired modernity, it became man versus nature. Man versus nature. And this idea has been responsible for, I think, the steep decline in terms of our environment consciousness. When you look at the things as your enemy versus as your binary, as something to be overpowered, then there lies the rub, there lies the problem. So later it was revealed, in fact Uh, I would like, in this regard, I would like to refer to one of the historians whose paper was published in a journal of science. Yes, Lynn White Jr. I often refer to that paper by Lynn White Jr., where he refers to the times, the history. He looks for he looks for the historical trajectory, the point in history when humans began developing this versusness toward nature. Nature becomes subservient to them. So he refers to one of the uh, Psalms, or one of the sentences, I should say sentence, better say sentences, one of the extracts in one of the scriptures, which according to which it goes like this: let us make man in our image, after our likeness, to rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, and over all the earth itself, and every creature that crawls upon it. So this very thought was responsible for, I mean, this has been held responsible. This has been held. I shouldn't say this was responsible. No, I'm no one to say that this was the only thing which was responsible. I mean, this is one of the views extolled forth by someone like Lynn White Jr. and many others like him. So accordingly, when you make the things, when you look at yourself as a representative of God, as someone who made you in his image, in his likeness, and what is the purpose? To rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air. Sea, air, and over the livestock from the earth, ground, and over all the earth, that is almost everywhere, and every creature that crawls upon it. So every crawling creature became subservient, became subordinate to the one which had got these one pair of legs. So as a man, and that to a man, male, I've got to be male. Accordingly, I've got to be male. So this patriarch became sole patriarch, sole savior of the entire, not just humanity, the entire planet. And not just the planet, every visible, invisible thing, even the universe became subservient to him. So, and this was really, I think this is really, beyond theories, this is really something very, very dangerous. I'm no one to call myself as savior. I'm no one to call myself as more powerful than the other beings, other animals, other flora and fauna. Because when I look at the things from this perspective, the earth, the rivers, they become a source of water. The mountains, they became a source of what you call, I mean, all sorts of resources. The tree, if you look at the tree lost its soul, its own identity, and got relegated, got reduced to the position of timber. So from a tree standing tall on its own, it became a piece of timber for you. So its sole existence is confined to being a timber for you to consume in your drawing room or in the kitchen. That's it. All the fish, for example, all the living beings and everything, it became subservient to you and for your consumption. This consumption has been really very dangerous. So God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply. And again, this is another one. Be fruitful and multiply and fill up the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, etc. I mean, same. So it was a kind of doctrine of superiority, superiority over others. This binary, inferiority versus superiority. I mean, day versus night, black versus white, tall versus small. Something which someone like Derrida, Jacques Derrida, in 20th century had to intervene. And he tried to dismantle this theory, this idea of binaries. He says that in the Western world, this kind of rigidity has emerged, and they're being guided, they're being governed. Humans in the Western world, they're being governed by these thoughts of binaries. Binaries in which the first one is more powerful over the second one. For example, day versus night. So man versus animals. Male versus female. Male versus female. Male has got to be powerful over female. Similarly, man, animal. So in a binary of man and animal, man has got to be superior to the animal. Now, if someone like Derrida dismantles the categories, dismantle the binaries, then what do you have? He questions this. Then what leads to think that, what leads you to believe that, and what reinforces your belief that man is superior to the animal, or day is better than night, black is better than white, white is better than black, etc., etc. So we humans, mostly in the West, the modern, after embracing modernity, they began looking at the things in terms of binaries, something which was very, very dangerous in terms of climate as well. Look at the Himalayas. The Himalayas, which we had been happy with till 50, or the Ganga, the holy Ganga, till 50 years ago, there was no pollution as such. But soon, now today, Ganga, the water from Ganga is no more drinkable. Why? Because so long as it had its own identity, Ganga Ma or Ganga Devi or whatever, people were expected, were supposed, whether they did or not, that's a different thing. But ideally, they were supposed to pay reverence to the river, not just a source of water, but as a source of blessing, as someone someone who could bless you. Now we are treating Ganga or these rivers as sources of water, and the results are for everyone to see how much polluted they have gone. So now I just wanted to refer to one of the words, like out of so many. Look at the word, how language has played truant upon the things, truant upon us. How language has got this uncanny ability to trap you. Like, look at the word one and jungle. When you say one, obviously you feel like you feel like giving more respect to the idea of forest. Jungly. So if you got one, you get Vanvasi. But when you say jungle, what do you get? Jungly. So Vanvasi could be a primitive term, but jungly, I don't know what is that. Obviously, it is a pejorative. When you say someone has jungly, now look at the two words. They seem to be synonym. Exactly synonym. One and jungle. But vanar, वन में रहने वाले नर, वानर, people, I mean, humans living in one, they were called vanar, and then vanar. Someone like Hanuman, or I mean, all those animals living in the forest. So vanar, but when you say jungly, it's a kind of abuse. I'm sure it's abuse. It's an abuse. Jungly आदमी है, jungly. There are movies also, jungly. चाहे मुझे कोई जंगली कहे वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. But it's not like कोई मुझे वानर कहे, वानर. So that's how words, that's how languages from different cultures. They have. I mean, the picture has been created with the help of these words. If we have got one, there is also jungle. Whereas in one, there is an idea of celebration. You celebrate celebrate visiting at one bhoj, or one में औषधियां होती हैं. But when you say jungle, it's a pejorative. Look at the word jungle book. In fact, it's B with capital. So let me make it B with capital. It's book. The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. It's not forest book. The Jungle Book. It's not one book, one pustak. This is Jungle Book. Very clear. And obviously, those who are from English literature, they must be aware of the mindset which Rudyard Kipling carried, and which exuded from his writings, the kind of mindset that his books produced. All for empire. He was all for empire. The Indians were no better than junglis for them, only to be civilized, not yet civilized. So this idea, they were primitives. They were primitives. To them, they were primitives. We were all primitives. So we are to be civilized. We are yet to be civilized. And who will civilize us? Obviously, Rudyard Kipling and his ilk. And I'm again reminded of one famous, or rather infamous quote, very infamous. I call it infamous. People may call it famous quote. We knocked the bastard off. If you Google the word, what do you get is when the two climbers, the early climbers, the first of the climbers, the so-called early climbers, they reached there. Edmund Hillary, I guess it was Edmund Hillary only. Edmund Hillary. The first words that he spoke, just as Rakesh Sharma when he arrived in space, the first words that came off that he uttered, that he spoke, was "Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara." When Indira Gandhi asked her, say something about how India looks like from there, he said, "Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara." And here is someone like Edmund Hillary reaching there at this pious home, this pious abode of gods. Mind you, this was no ordinary mountain. Kailash Mansarovar is in the same region. Is part of the same region. Now he reaches there and he says, "We knocked the bastard off." I mean, this is how you look at the things. Was it really kind of bastard for you? Such pejoratives were used for nature, for the elements of nature. This versus man versus, as though the things of nature are just meant to be overpowered, controlled to your liking, to your desire. Everything has got to be confined to your desire. has got to be limited to your desire. I mean, you have got to be master of the universe, master of the universe, master of the things. So this master and slave relationship, things around are meant to be enslaved. Not just the humans, not just Tenjing Sherpa, the one who carried him there. See, he was also there. But it is Edmund Hillary who has got this command to say the things. Power of language. So with this power of language, what you do, either you use it or you abuse it. So instead of saying something holy about the things, what he prefers to say, what he chooses to say, we knock the bastard off. This is, again, in my view, it was this, with this kind of mindset, you cannot come to terms with the elements around you. This imbalance has got to be this imbalance will further accentuate instead of doing things in a better way. So this was about the two Everest climbers. Now we have got this. We have got, but Indians, they had got a different mind about the elements of nature, about environment. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world as family. Something you find in, something you must have seen in G20. This became our logo. This became our signpost statement. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world as family. Now, in this family, you do not feel like abusing someone. If the whole world is a family, so are the Himalayas, so are the Alps, so are the oceans like Atlantic, so are the oceans like Indian Ocean or Pacific or whatever. So this whole family, the whole world as family, with this mindset, there will be a perfect balance. Obviously, so we viewed nature as something to be worshipped, something to be cared for, rather than to be ravished, rather than to ravish. So far as ravishing the nature is concerned, look at the entire South America, and especially places like Brazil and I mean the places where you have got gold. In a mad rush for gold, they have excavated, they have dug huge pits all across the country. So much so that it looks like some disease on the face of someone. Everywhere, in place of beautiful trees, in place of natural trees, beautiful flowers, rivers, mountains, all that they have is all those big and small pits dug up here and there in search for gold, in rush for gold. Yes, YouTube or these sites can offer you, if you want to know more about this. If you want to see the place, actually, if you don't want to visit, you can see this on internet. The pictures, the gory pictures, the ugly pictures, the ugly things, the ugly pictures of the places, ugly images. Nature had not planned in the scheme of nature. There were no digs like this. The nature was not so cruel. Originally, nature was not so cruel, not so bad. We made it. We made it like that. In search for gold, in rush for gold, diamond, for example, or even coal. What for? For our desires. And that's how I'm very happy that someone like Amitav Ghosh, In his latest book, not latest, 2 years, 3 years ago, he wrote The Great Derangement. 2 years, 3 years ago, yes. He wrote The Great Derangement, where he talks about how greed uh, disastrous, can be disastrous for nature, for environment. Human greed, human intervention, human greed, that has been responsible for, in fact, he connects it with climate change. First at individual level and then at national level. So it's all a market for buying and for sale and purchase of greed, and that's it. So, but it's not like this. Man is just one being out of so many millions of species, out of so many millions of species. Man is just one. But unfortunately, man began ignoring this gospel truth and continued to behave as he were the master of the universe, master of the things. Animals, that's why we have got animals in our Indian pantheons, various pantheons in India. Animals are as important as humans. Look at the image of Hanuman. He's only monkey. He's only monkey. Or look at any of the deities. Any of the deities. I mean, man. These are Navaratri days, and as many as 8 avatars of Durga, except Kalratri today. All the 8. Most of the forms of Durga, they are ensconced on the back of a tiger. Tiger or a lion is pretty much part of our pantheon. Just as you worship the deity, you also worship the animal by default. By default, the way you worship Lord Shiva, by default, you are expected to worship Nandi as well, which is nothing more than an animal, a bull. But then you worship it. Now, to a Western eye, to a Western mind, it appears postmodernist. It appears something very strange, crazy. But it was not actually crazy. That's how Indians had developed a link with the invisible world, with animal world. They continue to cherish. We still continue to cherish that primitive link. Primitive. On the one hand, there are the onslaughts of modernity. On the other hand, it is really very strange and it's really very enchanting to have this connect, to carry on, to keep this connect rejuvenated, to keep this connect alive from the past, from the days of primitivism, so-called primitivism, as we worship these animals. So the intersection between nature and culture has long been a source of inspiration for the authors worldwide, not just in India. I shouldn't be so stressful about India alone. So I should not be in praise of the things what you call Indian alone. No, in fact, world over. If you look at the ancient traditions in Greece and in Rome, not in Rome, Greece, they had it, or Egypt, or Babylonian civilizations, or Africans, even now they have this connect with animals, with the animal world, with the world of flora and fauna. They continue to cherish. They still cherish this connect. And the authors like in 19th century, you've got authors like Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, and the whole romantics, including some of the pre-romantics, precursors of romanticism. So what do we have in these authors is that it was a kind of rebel. They were a kind of rebels. They were all rebels against the dominant civilization, against the dominant culture, which had its focus on dominant civilization, not culture, which had focus on machine, which has focus uh, on industries. So these authors, these poets, they wanted to rekindle this connect, which they had it in their pantheon. That indicates that in their pantheon too, they had this connect. So all these authors did, what they did is they just rejuvenated, they rekindle it. And so you have got Wordsworth writing poems on Lucy, the villager, or the village girl, or the valleys, the mountains being treated as as holy, as divine. So he looks at the things, or Coleridge, St. Coleridge. If you read his Rime of Ancient Man, or so many of his poems. So what you find in those poems by Shelley, Keats, and all, Byron, they look at the nature as divine, not just human, even divine. So that's how they rekindle, they rejuvenate the links which were disconnected during all these years, maybe 2,000 years. Yes, almost 2,000 years. So they remain disconnected from nature. In place of many, it was a time, all these 2,000 years, they continued to have 1,500 years, you could say. The focus was not on nature. The dominant focus was not on nature. In fact, it was on man, anthropo. And that too, not multiple, just one man as your savior. So Wordsworth's soulful lyrics, the fanciful imaginings by Coleridge, the sonorous odes by Keats, or Shelley's thoughtful evocations to the wild west wind. Literature has ever been handy in shaping our ideas on nature and environment. Look at Kalidas in India. Meghdutam, something like Megh. Megh can be your Dut, messenger. Cloud as messenger. Now imagine cloud being treated as messenger. The modernists, they could not digest this idea. So we came up with one more term. We added post to modernism, and we call it postmodernism, only to so that these strange thoughts, crazy thoughts could be accommodated, could be given shape. So postmodernism, a typical postmodernist novel, is all about giving shape or giving accommodation to the strangeness of thoughts, to the wildness of the thoughts. Thus, and you are treating it as a dut, as a messenger. So this holy connect, the inseparable connect between man on the one hand and the clouds on the other, and both coming together to help each other. That was something that is something which you find in texts like this. The modern day beginnings, of course, they come from the modern day beginnings of ecocriticism. They come from Rachel Carson's The Silent Spring, which appeared in 1962. Obviously, many of you would be knowing this. That's why I did not want to share this thing, because this has become too common. But it's still so there was once a town. That's how a sentence occurs here. There was once a town in the heart of America where all life seemed to live in harmony with its surroundings. The prosperous farms, green fields, foxes barking in the hills, silent deer, ferns and wildflowers, countless birds, trout lying in clear, cold streams, all delighted by those who pass through the town. and soon it all disappears. And that's how the spring becomes silent. There is spring, but there are no flowers. There are rivers, but no water. There are forests, but no trees. There are birds, but they do not sing. All leading to was the time, and 1960s were the times when they had seen when the Second World War had just finished. I mean, 1945, almost 20, 18 years or 17 years ago, 17, 15 years. I mean, less than 2 decades ago, they had seen the vehemence of wars. So with this backdrop, when there was rise of machines, almost rise of machines and big industries, in order to cater to the requirements of war or the war ravaged world. Now this thought was important. Again, they had to come back. They had to look back towards nature. After so much of war, after so much of uh, effects, adverse effects of war. Now, ultimately, they had to look back to nature, to environment. And that's how Rachel Carson had to write The Silent Spring, where it talks about how important it is to look back to nature. How important is it to look for a healthy life, which can be had only when we develop a kind of balance with the surroundings. So with that began the age of eco-criticism in the world, in the whole world. So eco-critical concerns in Indian writing in English. Of course, I didn't want again to keep myself confined to Western thought, Western world. That's why I wanted to refer to what Indian writers have been doing so far as their ecological vision is concerned. How do they look at the things? How do they look at ecology? How do they look at environment? Or the thought, what they call environmentalism. How do they respond to this environmentalism? So Indian writers in English have uniquely engaged with environmental themes, offering diverse perspective on ecological issues. Through the lens of ecocriticism, we'll explore the rich literary tradition. They explored the rich literary tradition that reflects India's complex relationship with the environment. Of course, I always look at the Indian writers with a pinch of salt. I'm not in all praise for them, except a few of them, except very few of them. Like I already referred to Amitav Ghosh. I couldn't find one more, another author of with the same zeal who could write about environment in detail, or the issues related to environment and literature. Of course, Indian writing in English is still in a state of nascence. They are still emerging. So we should not expect much out of them, but then that's how they are. They are increasingly addressing the pressing issue of climate change and environmental activism. But more than that, I mean, more than these authors writing in English, it is actually the writers writing in native languages who have actually written meaningful things about this connect between man and nature. But unfortunately, they have been ignored simply because they could not write in English and their books could not be sold. So that's why one has got to be skeptical about what Indian writers in English they have been doing. Of course, Amitabh Ghosh also, of course, he started his environmental writings uh, with the books like, with the novels like The Hungry Tide, and later the Ibis trilogy, and many more. But now once again, he has turned to prose, direct. So he writes directly, straight away about what he feels about environment, or all these thoughts. So you have got this great derangement, and you have also got this. Let me see, is this? Um, yes, you've also got authors like activists like Vandana Shiva, those who have been actually involved in um, what we say environmentalism, a kind of environmentalism. Couple of things about Ghosh: urbanization and environmental degradation. Do I have time? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Dr. Ghosh,
Yeah, it's already 3:56. You can wrap up within 5 minutes, and then
Okay,
another
okay.
5 minutes we can
Okay.
just do the Q&A session.
yes.
Okay, okay, I'll do that. I'm just skipping through these because they are of no use for those who are not from English. I mean, there is one more author who is very close to my place. He lives in Masuri, Ruskin Pond. And then you have got, I wanted to share something more about how Indian culture looks at environment, and how do we define environment. And for example, this kind of picture, this typical picture of a tree being wrapped or being roped with threads like this. It's a very common sight, very common sight. So this culture of worshipping a tree, this is really very unique in India, in the world, the whole world. Nowhere in the world I could see such a beautiful, beautiful sight. It doesn't give rise only to debates and discussions. In fact, it gives rise to your to so many saner feelings. Saner feelings. It's beyond debates. It's beyond discussions. A tree is a tree, and the people, those who are worshipping this tree, they are mostly so-called uneducated people. They have not. Many of them, they have not graduated. They have not been trained to environmentalism. They have not read any of those theories, but still they know the importance of this tree, and that's how they worship. They pay their obeisance. They pay their reverence to the tree. So worshipping this tree uh, it could be seen as a kind of symbol, as a kind of uh, this it symbolizes the relationship, the healthy relationship between man and the animal world, the man and the um, this and nature. In short, in nature, man and nature. So I wanted to talk about how indigenous knowledge systems they can be helpful uh, towards promoting this thought on environment. I mean, this is one thing is for sure, that we must have our own vision, our own idea towards the environment, rather than being carried away by what the people in the West they have to say. You see, they always look at mostly they look at the things in terms of resource, as resource. So now if you see this tree, look at this picture. Now this trunk, huge trunk, it might you can have as many as hundreds of tables, I mean dozens of tables, or dozens of different articles of furniture for your guest home, for your home, for your household. But then Either you have that or you have this. You cannot have the cake and eat it too. You cannot have the cake and eat it too. So either you worship the tree or you cut it into pieces and use it as a timber for your household. We would say that that is also important. Well, this is a choice. It's a matter of choice. If that is important, then don't. We should not have any hue and cry about environment and oxygen and all these climate-related problems. So finally, I can skip through these slides, and this is the contemporary scene. And finally, it is thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. It was very enlightening, and it was something that not only literature, I mean, academics related to this literature can connect to, but also like as a social science academic, even I could connect to some of the concepts or some of the things that you were talking about. I would now open the floor for Q&A. You can both unmute yourself and ask your questions directly to Dr. Mishra, or you can type your question to the chat box. Participants, I invite you to either unmute yourself and ask questions to Dr. Mishra, or you can write the questions in the chat box.
See, I'm new to Zoom, so I cannot see. Let me
Sir,
see.
I will also moderate. You don't worry. You can also see the chat. You can see those 3 dots are
Right.
there.
I can see the chat.
Yeah,
I can
yes.
see the chats are in front of me. Yes, I can see the chats. All right. There you go. Okay.
Okay. I think we will have other. Yes.
There is someone from Hindi literature. Well, I would like to hear from him or her. Who is
Actually, it is, I think, Dr. Jagannatham. Are you here, sir? I think he got disconnected by some reason.
Okay, no problem.
But I think that it brings us, actually, he is associated with our university, and
Okay,
he is a Hindi faculty. I think this brings us to my first question to you, sir. I actually got quite like, I found that concept of indigenous knowledge system quite interesting. Yes. And I think that plays a very important role in how we perceive nature in this part of our world. But slowly this indigenous knowledge system is kind of slowly getting out of sight, and like we are more and more focused on the traditional knowledge system that we like, the more established knowledge system that we get in our schools and colleges. Can you just elaborate a little bit on this indigenous knowledge system? What exactly are you like meaning when you knowledge? There can be many types of indigenous knowledge system, right? Some are more classical indigenous knowledge system. Some are even tribal indigenous knowledge system.
Yes.
So
you see, there could not be many types. There is just, if you say indigenous knowledge system, that means indigenous, be it of Africa, be it of South America, be it of India, or be it of, I mean, or be it of Europe. So the thing.
Sir, you are not audible.
Sir, you are not audible, sir. I think
network issue maybe.
I think there is some network issues.
I think it got stuck also. The video is also not moving. So
yes, can you just give him a call and just inform him? He might not know that the connectivity is causing issues. Participants, I know that we are a little bit over time, but we would request you to kind of stay in the meeting so that Dr. Mishra can join us. Oh, Dr. Mishra has joined us again. Yes. Sir, you got disconnected for a while. So yeah, you were talking about indigenous knowledge systems. Yes. You're on mute, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. So you see, basically when we say indigenous, then indigenous means the knowledge which you have around, the things around. Uh, in fact, we are every culture, they have got their own way of looking at the things. They have got their own knowledge system. That's what we call it indigenous knowledge system, and hence indigenous knowledge systems. When you talk about indigenous systems of India, that means systems prevailing in India. So that's how you have got these systems worldwide. And in place of indigenous systems, you have got this universal global system, like Ayurveda versus allopath. Ayurveda is indigenous, homegrown, just as Chinese medicines in China, they are indigenous. But in place of indigenous, if they start using allopath, it would be considered that they have taken to uh, a global network of knowledge. So they are subscribing to uh, 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 the global concept of knowledge, the global system of cure. I mean, that's how these systems have been defined, not just in terms of medicine, in fact, in terms of, I mean, different spheres of knowledge, be it engineering, be it languages, be it culture, be it literature, or whatever. So it should be promoted. Obviously, it should be promoted. But the biggest challenge is that of the language. You are saying things of your own in a language which is not your own, which is English. So here lies the main problem. So long as we will not be able to, we do not develop a system of communication of our own, no indigenous knowledge system is going to be successful. Because ultimately, like here, like there are so many terms which cannot be translated, or when you translate the words lose their essence. So it's a kind of hypocrisy, which I am also doing. By default, we have become hypocrites that way, or not hypocrites as such. I mean, it's a kind of disconnect between our sensitivity and sensibility, what we think and what we want to say. So there is this connect because of this issue of language. I cannot say so many things of my area, of my region, of my surroundings in English or in French or in Japanese. For example, if you're to talk about Tulsi, so how do you translate it into Tulsi? It becomes something like hibiscus, I don't know what is that, or neem, or turmeric, haldi. These are indigenous products, indigenous to India. Now you have to, now we tend to translate it in order to suit, in order to match with the global standards. Unnecessarily, we should not be obsessed with globalization. So indigenous system should be for first, it should be for our benefit. It must be, we must be able to heal ourselves with the local knowledge of medicines. We must be able to develop things for our own comfort with the help of the local engineering. But unfortunately, in order to cater to the requirements of our masters in quote, seated there in the West, we are doing disservice, or there is a risk of doing disservice to our own knowledge systems. तो हमको उनको बताने की जरूरत नहीं. We have to use them. Actually, we have to use them. We have to develop our products. For example, literature में or geography. You are from history, and Dr. Priyanka is from geography. So let us understand the nature of our rivers, nature of our the flow of our rivers, the kind of water that they have, or our own mountains in our own language, rather than the language offered by them. Because if you language and theories offered by them, they cannot serve the purpose. For that, for example, if I ask someone which month is it, then obviously they would say this is October. But is it really so? They would say, yes, it is really so. It is October. But when I say, is it Kartik or Aghan or what? Savan or Bhadra or something like that. in terms of history, we must read our own history. We must write a history of our own. In our own languages, yes. We must be able to identify the things of history of our own. And we must write history in our through our perspective, rather than looking at the things from a global perspective. So the first thing in terms of history that we need to do is to rewrite the history. And they would say, why? How can you rewrite history? Yes, just as it has been written, it can also be rewritten and again rewritten. It's an endless process. Similarly, in terms of geography, for example, cartography. Why Europe has got to be at the center? Eurocentrism. Look at the map of the world. Europe, England is at the center. Why? Is the world really like this? And they would say, yes, the world is really like this. But look, if you look at the things from indigenous perspective, you should be at the center. We should be at the center. I mean, all the cultures, the cultures at margins, for example, African cultures or South American cultures, in fact, they have rejected this idea of modernity. So modernity Indian knowledge system is counterproductive, is a counterpoint, offers a counterpoint to the global modernity. Am I clear in my words?
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. I think it is quite an interesting point that you made, actually, that we don't need to only talk about it, we need to practice it.
Yes, we need to practice it. So the first thing that I am planning to do, or I would like to do, is that to come up with, to look for a replacement of English. Like the French, they do not use English the way we do.
Just one comment, sir, but considering so diverse, languages in India, do you think we will be able to replace, English with other language?
Yeah, Dr. Penka, yes, it is possible. After all, what are the linguists doing? Let the linguists come up with a universal language. And yes, there is a concept of universality in languages. There are certain universals in language. So we should look for images. We should look for images, imagistic languages, the words which create images, or onomatopoeic words. For example, rustle. The word rustle, R-U-S-T-L-A. Now rustling, sarsarana, or bang. There are words which are universal. In fact, there is a close affinity between Malayalam and Sanskrit, between Malayalam and other Indian languages. Not just Malayalam, all these Indian languages, and not just Indian languages, in fact, the languages of the world. There are certain things which are very, very common. Like when I asked someone in Italy, uh, where have you been to? She said, I had been to my Shwacha. Cha is saw there. Saw or cha, they do not, they have got this saw, they pronounce cha, they pronounce saw as cha. So it struck me. It occurred to me that she must be referring to her saas. And I said, is it your mother-in-law? She said, yes, exactly. How do you know? I said, in our system, we have got Shwasur. And Shwasur, that means Sasur, that is father-in-law. So when you say Shwasa, Shwacha, then that's how it occurred to me that you must be referring to your mother-in-law. This is just one example. Another example, in French, they say deux for two, deux. Or if you read the books written in 14th century, the poems, for example, if you read Chaucer's poetry. So in Chaucer's poetry, the language is entirely different. Although it is English, or in Shakespeare, still different. But still, you can analyze, you can make sense out of that. Similarly, you can make sense with Italian, you can make sense with French. And it is easier to develop a language connecting the languages of the world. Do we laugh in some other languages? We all, people across the world, they laugh in the same language. They smile in the same language. In fact, most of our communication takes place with the help of non-verbal things. 80% of our communication consists of non-verbal gestures. Gestures, our body language, our artifacts. That's how we communicate. The poets in 20th century, early 20th century, the imagists, the impressionists, what did they do? They did not look for grammar. They went for free verse. They looked for images. Rilke, for example, yes, German Rilke, or Rimbaud, and again T.S. Eliot. They all call for a language which is universal. Creolization of languages. Creolization. I hope those in English, they must be aware of the idea of creolization. So yes, new languages, new forms of languages can be developed. In fact, Shankaracharya from Kerala, 5th century BC, not 8th century AD. They have wrongly termed it as 8th century AD. In fact, much earlier, 6th century BC. He traveled across the country, through the length and breadth of the country, connecting with people, talking to people, and convincing them. Someone like Mandan Mishra in Varanasi. Which language was it? Can you imagine the kind of travels that he might have undertaken? A young boy, that too a young boy. It's not a fiction. It's not a figment of my imagination. Just analyze it. But then our authors in English, they have not written one single novel. I'm yet to find one single good novel about the life and trajectory, the things, life and feats or related to Shankaracharya, Adi Guru Shankara, and many other people. Buddha, for example, Buddha. Which language was it? Across the world. You have Buddhists, they're in Japan, China, America, and India is home, obviously. Which language was it? Was it English? Certainly not. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation and your wonderful ideas. I mean, they are quite very thoughtful and observations, your ideas and observations. I think one of the participants, Dr. Priya, has written here. It's not a question, but it is a beautiful comment. So I'm just reading it. Peaceful coexistence, mutual admiration, benign understanding, commonality of outlook towards things. Well-placed points, sir. Thank you, sir. She just wanted to thank you for
I especially thank Dr. Priyanka for inviting me for this lecture, for this talk. It's not lecture, it's talk. It's a kind of talk, and especially her very searching question. Yes, it was this was a really very meaningful question, Dr. Priyanka. Yes, it's the question. After all, which language? Which language? How will you connect with the people if not with English? So obviously, for the moment, we cannot replace it with some other language. Of course, it's not possible. But then another author with the same title as yours, Ghosh. That's how I have got a special respect for the people, those who bear this title, Ghosh. Amitav Ghosh. Yes. Amitav Ghosh has written his Ibis trilogy in such a wonderful language. It's English, but at the same time, it's a different kind of English, using words from different cultures, indigenous words. There are words from China, there are words from Bhojpuri, there are words from, in fact, all across the world. Just as the characters, so are his words. Yes, in fact, he has dismantled the traditional structure of grammar, English grammar, in his writings. So this is a way forward. This is a way forward. Maybe someone could take a leaf out of what he has written and then may come up with still more brilliant ideas about language.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Another thing is that our Dean ma'am has joined, I think. Dr. Priyanka? Madam,
Yes,
welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tani. Sir, Dr. Mishra, thank you so much as always. We are highly indebted to you for your expertise, for your friendship, and for all the support that you give us here at VITAP. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry I couldn't join you in the lecture today, but happy to connect with you as always.
Thank you.
I'm sure all the participants basked in your scholarly presence today, and you were the grand finale to our national seminar. So thank you so much, sir.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you once again, sir. And Dr. Priyanka, I think we can just wrap up now.
Yes, we can wrap it. Thank you, Dr. Tania. Thank you for moderating the session. I thank also our speaker, Dr. Sanjit Kumar Mishra, for his wonderful talk. I also thank our Associate Dean, Dr. Thaya Afzal, for giving this opportunity to organize a 5-day national seminar on diverse perspectives of eco-criticism. I also thank our CTS or IT department for their technical support. I thank other organizers, Dr. Karishma and Dr. Amrita, for supporting us. They are not present here today in this meeting, but they were there from the beginning. I also thank all the participants for joining us. We have shared a feedback form in the chat box, and I have also shared it in the WhatsApp group. So please share your thoughts regarding, or share your, basically there are some questions in the feedback form. Please fill out the feedback form and let us know how all the sessions went, so that we can organize it better in future. Thank you, and I am formally then ending the session.
Thank you very much, participants. I think you can formally end the session, Dr.